Chapter 1434. He was taken away by Luo Xiang. Lu Ming smiled. Luo Xiang, the peerless genius from the Life and Death Sword sect. Qiu Yingying's eyes flickered. You know him? Lu Ming asked. Qiu Yingying nodded and said, My brother and I have been in the Yuan continent for 2 years. As the saying goes, know yourself and know your enemy. In these 2 years, besides cultivating, we have not been idle. We have investigated some of the major forces in the Tsang continent, and some of the outstanding geniuses. The Life and Death Sword sect is a special existence among the 13 top sections. The other sects have many disciples, but the Life and Death Sword sect has very few disciples. They are very strict when it comes to accepting disciples. Lu Ming nodded. Indeed, the Life and Death Sword sect had the least number of people entering the Great Emperor's secret realm. And this Luo Xiang is the most terrifying genius in the Life and Death Sword sect. It is said that he started practicing swordsmanship when he was 6, reached the spiritual sea realm when he was 7, and reached the peak of the Supreme Being when he was 9. Qiu Yingying said, started practicing swordsmanship when he was 6, and reached the peak of the Supreme Being when he was 9? Lu Ming was dumbfounded. This kind of cultivation speed was too fast. It was unimaginable. Although they were in the Yuan continent, it was too shocking. Lu Ming had obtained the 9 dragons bloodline, so his cultivation speed was already very shocking. However, it took him more than 10 years to reach his current level. Although Luo Xiang's talent is not bad, he looks like he is in his 20s. It is not that exaggerated. Lu Ming was puzzled. This is the most terrifying thing about Luo Xiang. It is said that he could have broken through to the Emperor realm long ago. But he has been suppressing himself at the peak of the Supreme Being. His goal is to nurture his sword soul and train his heart of the sword. He has been suppressing himself for 15 years. Qiu Yingying said. Lu Ming's eyes flashed with shock. In order to nurture his sword soul and train his heart of the sword, he was willing to suppress himself at the same realm for 15 years. This kind of person was too terrifying. Now that Luo Xiang had broken through and obtained the sword art inheritance, he would definitely rise in the future and become an absolutely terrifying person. Lu Ming secretly remembered Luo Xiang's name in his heart. Disregarding everything else, just his temperament alone was worthy of respect. Lu Ming asked himself if he would be able to suppress his cultivation level for 15 years. However, everyone's path was different. Lu Ming had his own path. Lu Ming's path might not be suitable for him. After chatting for a while, they left. Following that, the entire secret realm became even more lively. Everyone was searching for the remaining inheritances. Days passed. In the secret territory, there was a sea of blood. The roar of a dragon could be heard. Suddenly, a silhouette soared into the sky and stood above the sea of blood. This person was none other than the leader of Dragon God Valley, Hiyu, Wang. Within the sea of blood, a rainbow bridge soared into the sky and disappeared into the void. The 4th inheritance had appeared. In the middle of a sea of flowers, a peerlessly beautiful woman stood in the middle. Her entire body shone with the resplendent light. The light emitted by the sea of flowers converged into a rainbow bridge that rushed into the void. The 5th inheritance had appeared. There was also a rainbow bridge in the middle of a desert. The 6th inheritance. In an ancient divine palace, a young man was bathed in the divine light and disappeared after a while. When he rushed out of the divine palace, a rainbow bridge soared into the sky above the divine palace. The 7th inheritance had appeared. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Several figures appeared beside the young man and bowed respectfully. Congratulations, senior brother Sure, for obtaining the inheritance. The 7 inheritances have all appeared. Emperor Tsang's palace is about to appear. This time, Emperor Tsang's treasures belong to our heavenly god sect. The young man spoke with a majestic tone, as if he was a deity speaking. Emperor Tsang's treasures belong to our heavenly god sect. The other young men spoke one after another. At this moment, everyone in the secret territory looked at the void. The 7 inheritances have all appeared. Emperor Tsang's palace is about to appear. On a mountain peak, Lu Ming, Qiu Yingying, and Qiu Hao stood against the wind and looked at the void. During this period of time, they had also been searching for the inheritances. Unfortunately, Their luck seemed to have run out, as they did not find any of the inheritances. High up in the sky, 7 rainbow bridges rushed into the void from all directions and gathered in one place. The entire Great Emperor's secret territory could see it. Boom! Suddenly, there was an earth-shattering explosion at the place where the rainbow bridges gathered. Following that, the cry of an eagle resounded through the heavens and earth. In the depths of the void, there seemed to be a huge object that was about to break through the void. Emperor Song's palace is about to appear. Charge, I want to seize the opportunity. I didn't get any of the 7 inheritances. Emperor Song's inheritance is mine. One by one, figures flew into the sky from all directions and rushed towards the place where the rainbow bridges gathered. Looking from below, the scene was very majestic. Countless figures were densely packed together and gathered in one place. It was very exciting. Let's go too, Lu Ming said. Then, they soared into the sky and flew toward the sky. At this moment, another cry of an eagle resounded through the sky. Rumble! The void shattered as a huge object broke free from the void and slowly appeared in front of everyone. It was an eagle, an extremely huge eagle. To be precise, it was a building in the shape of an eagle. From afar, it looked very lifelike, and a vast aura pressed down on everyone's hearts. Was this Emperor Song's palace? Everyone's eyes lit up. Legend had it that Emperor Song had become an emperor as an eagle. He was a supreme Fey emperor. There are a lot fewer people, Qiu Yingying said softly. Lu Ming nodded. Indeed, when they entered the Great Emperor's secret territory, there were more than 300,000 people. But now there were less than 200,000 people here. Almost all of the others had died. More than 100,000 people had died. What a shocking number. The Great Emperor's secret territory had great opportunities, but it was also accompanied by great dangers. For example, at the Sword Dao inheritance ground, at least 10,000 people had died under the swordtail disc. Rumble! A moment later, a huge eagle appeared in front of everyone's eyes. It was huge, too huge. The eagle covered the sky, and they couldn't see the end of it. The entire eagle was black and shiny. No one knew what material it was made of. Where's the entrance? Everyone was looking, but they couldn't see an entrance. The eagle's body was bare. Obviously, it couldn't be the real palace. The real palace must be inside the eagle. Caw! At this moment, the eagle's cry resounded through the sky. Everyone saw the eagle's mouth open, revealing a black passage. Could this be the passage to Emperor Song's palace? Everyone looked at each other. In the end, some people gritted their teeth and rushed towards the eagle's mouth. Chapter 1435. Charge! Charge! Once someone made a move, the others could no longer hold back and rushed towards the goshawk's mouth. Swoosh! 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 The crowd swarmed toward the goshawk's mouth like a swarm of bees. Lu Ming, Qiu Yingying, and Qiu Hao followed the crowd and charged toward the goshawk's mouth. The people at the front had already rushed into the goshawk's mouth and were not in danger. Seeing that nothing was wrong, the people at the back rushed forward even more crazily. Who knew if they would get some supreme treasure if they went in first? Naturally, the crowd was going crazy. Whoosh! Lu Ming was flying. Behind him, a terrifying palm print blasted towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming raised his eyebrows. Without even looking, he struck back with his palm and collided with the palm print behind him. Boom! The force was rampant. Lu Ming twisted his body and looked behind him. A young man in a white robe glanced at Lu Ming coldly and then sped forward. Someone from the Heavenly God sect. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with murderous intent. Obviously, the white-robed young man from the Heavenly God sect wanted to kill him and sneak attacked him from behind when he was not paying attention. Xian Yanjuan from the Heavenly God sect. Lu Ming whispered in a cold voice. They continued to fly. Soon, Lu Ming and the others also flew into the passage. The goshawk was very large, so the passage was also very large. A large group of people flew in, but it was not crowded at all. Ah! Ah! At this moment, there was a shrill scream in front of them. What's going on? There's danger in front. Someone exclaimed. Swoosh swoosh. At this moment, there was an ear-piercing sound in front of them. Moreover, this sound was coming from afar. Swoosh! Swoosh. Suddenly, on the walls of the passage on both sides of Lu Ming and the others, streaks of black light shot out rapidly. Immediately, someone screamed as his body was pierced by the black light and died. Defend! Lu Ming threw out a few punches in succession, destroying dozens of black rays of light. Lu Ming could clearly see that this jet black light was not solid, but its power was astonishing. Its penetrative power was terrifying. Many people revolved their true essence to defend themselves, but it was useless. The jet black light pierced through them. Those below Emperor level, please withdraw. Those below Emperor level, please withdraw. Someone shouted. Those below rulers could not block these lights at all, and would be shot to death. Screams rang out continuously as people were shot to death. Inside the passageway, a series of domains spread out. Those who had broken through to become rulers had to use their domains and vital essence to protect their bodies, to barely block the black light's attack. The feather robe on Qiu Yingying's body glowed and covered her whole body, blocking the light around her. As for Qiu Hao, a golden bell floated above his head. It scattered a light screen and easily blocked the light. As for Lu Ming, he was enveloped by the primal chaos domain. That kind of light could not touch him at all. No one flinched and continued to fly forward. Along the way, they saw many corpses. Nonetheless, most of them were supreme venerables. Only a few rulers were shot to death here if they were careless. However, as they continued to move forward, the power of the jet black light slowly became stronger. In the beginning, it shot out from the left and right sides, but later on endless jet black light shot out from all directions. Its power was astonishing. Gradually, some of the rulers showed signs of being unable to withstand it. This passageway was very long. They flew for thousands of miles, but they still did not reach the end. Damn it, I'm not satisfied. Someone roared because he was about to be unable to withstand it. If they continued forward, they would die. They could only retreat unwillingly. As they continued forward, it became more and more difficult to walk. However, Lu Ming, Qiu Yingying, and Qiu Hao were very relaxed. Qiu Yingying and Qiu Hao's treasures were sacred weapons. Their defensive power was astonishing and unfathomable. Naturally, this attracted the attention of others. What a mysterious treasure! If I can get it, I can enter Emperor Song's chamber. Greed flashed in someone's eyes. Many people gathered around the three of them. How can the likes of you enjoy such a treasure? Give it to me. A young man with a cold gaze threw a palm at Qiu Hao. Buzz! The golden bell above Qiu Hao's head vibrated, and an invisible ripple spread out and rushed toward the young man. The young man's expression changed and he quickly retreated. What a mysterious treasure! It must be a sacred weapon. Hand it over. Kill. The other young man took a step forward and charged towards Qiu Hao. A few others attacked Qiu Yingying. Get lost. Lu Ming shouted coldly and strode forward. He stretched out his hand and punched at the young men. Brat, it's good that I didn't look for you. Meddling in other people's business. Die. A young man said coldly and punched at Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming punched out, and the violent fist force crushed the young man. The young man screamed and flew back. His protective true origin and domain were shattered by Lu Ming's punch. His body was instantly penetrated by the dense jet black light, and he died on the spot. Then Lu Ming punched out a few more times, and a few more young men were sent flying. Their true origin and domain were penetrated by Lu Ming, and they all died under the jet black light. The remaining young men's faces changed drastically. Lu Ming's combat strength was too strong. He could completely crush them. At this moment, an extremely sharp force attacked Lu Ming from behind Lu Ming. When Lu Ming heard it, he knew that it was sword qi. It was extremely sharp, and the person who attacked was shockingly strong. Whoosh! Lu Ming activated the wind origin technique. At the critical moment, he moved 1 meter to the side and dodged the sword. It's you again! When he saw the person who attacked him, Lu Ming's killing intent surged. This person was the white-robed young man from the Celestial God sect, who had attacked Lu Ming outside the passage. You're lucky. After his attack failed, the white-robed young man retreated, and wanted to retreat. You've attacked me repeatedly, and now you want to leave? Did you ask for my permission? Lu Ming said coldly. The aura on his body surged. He took a step forward and rushed toward the white-robed young man. The black light did not pose much of a threat to Lu Ming. Seeing Lu Ming rushing toward him, the white-robed young man's face changed, and he quickly rushed forward. However, his speed was no match for Lu Ming's. In just a few breaths' time, Lu Ming was already close to him. "Brat, how dare you attack me? I'm an elder of the celestial god sect." Seeing that he could not escape, the white-robed young man turned around and shouted at Lu Ming. "Die!" Lu Ming charged toward him. This person is so naive. He had attacked Lu Ming repeatedly, trying to kill Lu Ming. Now he wants to threaten Lu Ming with the person behind him. Isn't he stupid? The white-robed young man swallowed his words when he saw Lu Ming's punch. He could only try his best to defend himself. Rays of sword light shot out from his hand with shocking power. This person should have an innate spiritual body. His cultivation had reached the peak of the first layer martial royal realm. His combat strength was not bad, but unfortunately, he was no match for Lu Ming. Bang! Chapter 1436. Whoosh! Lu Ming took a step forward and appeared in front of the white-robed young man. He then threw a kick at him. Bang! The white-robed young man's protective true energy and domain were shattered by Lu Ming's kick. Suddenly, countless rays of light shot toward the white-robed young man. The white-robed young man tried his best to defend himself. Fortunately, he had an innate spiritual body and had evolved into an inferior earth spiritual body. He managed to survive after a hole was made in his body. However, Lu Ming charged toward him again. Bang! Lu Ming reached out his claw and pierced through the white-robed young man's domain. He then grabbed the white-robed young man's neck and almost shattered his true energy. Naturally, his true yuan and domain disappeared without a trace. Help! The white-robed young man screamed in fear as countless rays of black light shot toward him. Lu Ming activated his chaotic domain and covered the white-robed young man, blocking the rays of black light. The white-robed young man took a deep breath and said, "Lu Ming, let me go. My uncle is an elder of the heavenly god sect. If you kill me, he..." "Nonsense!" Lu Ming shouted coldly as a murderous intent burst out from his body. The white-robed young man swallowed his words. "Tell me, who sent you to kill me?" Lu Ming said coldly. It's. The white-robed young man was about to answer when a voice came from the other side. "You better let him go." A few young men walked out from the passage. The young man leading the group was tall and slender. His eyes were bright like a deity and his aura was intimidating. The aura of the second layer martial royal realm spread out from his body. There were two other young men behind the young man. They were both at the peak of the first layer martial royal realm. Their domains covered the area, and the rays of black light could not harm them. "That's the leader of the heavenly god sect, Shirtian." Some people passed by and whispered to each other. They then rushed forward and left the place. "Senior brother Shirtian, save me!" The white-robed young man screamed when he saw Shirtian. "Brat, quickly release me. Otherwise, senior brother Shirtian will definitely put you in a life and death situation." Then, the white-robed young man scolded Lu Ming again, his arrogance rising again. "Really?" Lu Ming sneered. He lifted the white-robed youth and sent him out of the range of the domain. Instantly, 7 or 8 black beams of light pierced through the white-robed youth's body, causing him to bleed profusely. He let out a miserable scream. "Brat, you're courting death. How dare you?" Behind Shirtian, the two youths berated. Boom! Shirtian stepped forward. His powerful aura pressed down on Lu Ming as he said coldly, "I said let him go." His tone carried an air of superiority as he ordered Lu Ming. "Who do you think you are? Furthermore, this person has ambushed me time and time again. He is dead for sure." Lu Ming said coldly. Shirtian's eyes were dark as he said, "If you kill him, I'll definitely kill you." "Really?" Lu Ming wore a ferocious expression on his face as the murderous intent on his body grew colder. "No." The white-robed young man retreated in horror. Boom! The power in Lu Ming's hand suddenly erupted and drowned the white-robed young man. Under Lu Ming's terrifying power, the white-robed young man's body was smashed into pieces. "Die!" At this moment, Shirtian's murderous intent exploded. His body was bathed in a sacred radiance. He took a step forward and the void rumbled. Shirtian raised his hand and pressed down. A huge sacred palm pressed down on Lu Ming. Petty tricks, Lu Ming sneered. He also took a step forward and threw out a palm. A chaotic palm blasted out and faced Shirtian head-on. The two palms collided with each other, resulting in a brilliant explosion. A shockwave spread out from the collision, shattering the pitch-black light in the surroundings. Bam! In the next moment, Shirtian's sacred palm print collapsed. The chaotic palm print did not stop as it continued to attack Shirtian. Shirtian's expression changed. The sacred radiance on his body became even brighter, and a long spear appeared in his hand. Spear of divine punishment, Shirtian shouted softly. The sacred spear cut through the void, seemingly able to penetrate everything in the world. It pierced toward Lu Ming at an extremely fast speed. Shirtian's cultivation had reached the second realm of the martial royal realm, and he had cultivated a medium earth spiritual body. His battle strength was shocking, and he was on the same level as He Yu, Wang Xiao and Luo Xiang. Among the geniuses who had entered the great emperor mystic realm, he stood at the peak. Not many people could withstand this move of his. However, he met Lu Ming. The chaotic domain covered him. Lu Ming used the suppressing hell skill and punched out. The suppressing hell monument's shadow flashed on his fist, and it directly hit the tip of the sacred spear. Dang! A deafening sound rang out. Shirtian's sacred spear trembled violently. A terrifying power flowed through the spear and into Shirtian's arm, causing his body to tremble. Bam! In the next moment, the sacred spear exploded. Shirtian's body shook, and he retreated a few hundred meters. Blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. How can this be? The other two youths were dumbfounded. Even Shirtian's battle strength was not Lu Ming's match. How could this be possible? Let's go. Shirtian did not say a word and turned to leave. You think you can come and go as you wish? How can it be so easy? Lu Ming said coldly. He stepped forward and activated the wind origin technique. He instantly closed in on Shirtian. A terrifying fist force blasted towards Shirtian. Shirtian roared angrily and used all his strength to fight Lu Ming. However, although he was strong, he was still inferior to Lu Ming. In less than 10 moves, he was beaten by Lu Ming until he vomited blood. Senior Shirtian, we will avenge you. When the other youth saw this scene, he was so frightened that he left behind a sentence and charged forward with all his might, escaping without a trace. Hee, these are your senior and junior brothers? Lu Ming mocked. Shirtian roared angrily and tried his best to resist. However, under Lu Ming's chaotic domain, he was forced to retreat. Die! Lu Ming's punch broke through Shirtian's defense and was about to kill him. At this moment, a powerful aura suddenly erupted from Shirtian's body. A shadow appeared on Shirtian's body, and an invisible force burst out. This is... Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. This force was very similar to the light sword that Lu Ming faced in the sword pagoda. That was the same level of power. Bang! Lu Ming was hit by this force, and his body flew backward. Lu Ming, I will definitely kill you next time. Shirtian left behind a sentence and rushed into the depths of the passage. It turns out that Shirtian has also obtained an inheritance. Lu Ming frowned. Shirtian should have also obtained an inheritance. As he had just obtained the inheritance and had not refined it, this inheritance had the function of automatically protecting its owner. If it was refined, this function would disappear. Next time, if the inheritance cannot protect its owner, I will definitely kill you. A sharp light flashed in Lu Ming's eyes. Lu Ming, are you alright? Xiao Yingying stepped forward and asked. I'm fine. Let's go. Chapter 1437. They continued to move forward. Although the black light in this passage was very powerful, it was mainly a threat to supremes, or some weak emperors. The stronger ones could still block it. The three of them walked for another 1,000 miles or so, and finally reached the end. The passage disappeared. In front of them was a flat land, but it was filled with gray fog. The fog drifted, greatly affecting one's vision. Some of the young men rushed into the mist and disappeared. Lu Ming and the other two did not hesitate and rushed into the fog. The fog was quiet. There was no sound at all, as if there were no living creatures. It was dead silent. Vaguely, only the heartbeats of the three people could be heard. However, after walking for a while, only one of the three people's heartbeats could be heard. Lu Ming turned his head and saw that Qiu Yingying and Qiu Hao had disappeared. What's going on? Just a moment ago, Qiu Yingying and Qiu Hao had been following behind him. Why did they suddenly disappear? Yingying, brother Qiu, Lu Ming called out. His voice spread far and wide, but there was no response. Lu Ming searched for a while, but he did not see anyone. Just now, many young men had rushed in, but now, he did not see anyone. Could it be a formation? No, it's not a formation, Lu Ming observed carefully. There was no formation here at all. This area is very strange. It can affect one's senses. Perhaps they're not far away from me, but we're ignoring each other. Lu Ming thought to himself. There were many wonderful places in the world. No one had set up a formation, but they had functions that were even more mysterious than a formation. It seems that we can only meet up after walking out of this area. Thinking of this, Lu Ming determined the direction and walked straight ahead. However, not long after Lu Ming stopped, he found that there was an invisible energy around him that was seeping into his body and slowly attacking his soul. Yes, there was an invisible energy here that could attack his soul. Even his primal chaos domain could not defend against it. Luckily, Lu Ming's soul had been refined inside the World Alchemy Calamity Bell when he was overcoming the Martial Dominator Tribulation, allowing him to strengthen his soul by more than 10 times. The attack was nothing to Lu Ming. Lu Ming ignored him and continued forward. Along the way, he noticed that there were many craters on the ground. Some of the craters looked like palm prints. Could it be that in the distant past, there was a great battle here? Lu Ming guessed. Bang! Lu Ming punched the ground, but the ground didn't move at all. There wasn't a single mark. So hard. Lu Ming sucked in a breath of cold air. The ground here was made from a kind of strange metal. It was tough and indestructible. Even with Lu Ming's strength, he couldn't leave a single mark on it. The thing that left the craters on the ground was definitely a terrifying existence. As Lu Ming continued forward, he found that the energy attacking his soul was getting stronger. Although it was nothing to Lu Ming's current soul strength, it was definitely a great challenge for the other geniuses. There's a strong fluctuation ahead. Suddenly, Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He found that there was a strong fluctuation coming from ahead. It seemed like there was an expert cultivating ahead. Lu Ming hesitated for a moment. He withdrew his aura and decided to go forward to take a look. Soon a giant object appeared ahead. It was an eagle, a giant eagle. It was covered in golden feathers and was as big as a mountain. That kind of fluctuation was coming from this giant eagle. However, the giant golden eagle was obviously dead. There was no sign of life on it. However, the fluctuation was indeed terrifying. The closer he got, the scarier Lu Ming felt. The aura of a Saint Realm expert. Moreover, the fluctuation is more profound than that of an ordinary Saint Realm expert. Lu Ming thought. Lu Ming had sensed the aura of a heavenly mystic saint and the aura of Dragon God Valley's Elder Hong. However, they were nothing compared to this giant golden eagle. This giant golden eagle was definitely not just a bright saint, but a great saint or absolute saint when it was alive. There's a word. Suddenly, Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He found that there was a word under one of the giant golden eagle's wings. It was the word evil. Evil. What did it mean? Lu Ming didn't know. Moreover, Lu Ming didn't see any wounds around the giant eagle's body. He didn't know how it died. I wonder if I can keep this giant eagle. It's full of treasures, Lu Ming thought. He took out a higher quality storage ring and activated his true yuan. He let the storage ring fly above the giant eagle. A gravitational force was generated from the storage ring. To Lu Ming's surprise, Lu Ming easily put away the giant eagle's body. Haha, I've made a fortune. Lu Ming was overjoyed. He put away the storage ring and continued forward. This area was dead silent. It was as if Lu Ming was the only one in this vast world. This feeling would drive one crazy if one stayed here for too long. Moreover, there was an invisible energy that kept seeping into Lu Ming's body and attacking his soul. After walking for a long time, when Lu Ming took a step forward, the environment around him changed drastically. The fog disappeared and Lu Ming came to a platform. One step away, so close yet so far away. He walked out of the fog just like that. Voices came from ahead. Lu Ming looked, and found that many people had gathered here. Qiu Yingying, Qiu Hao. Lu Ming saw the two of them at a glance. Lu Ming. The two of them saw Lu Ming and walked over happily. When did you pass through the fog? Lu Ming asked. We just arrived a while ago. Qiu Yingying explained. The two of them had encountered the same thing as Lu Ming. After walking into the fog, they were separated from the others. It was as if they were the only ones left in the world. There was also the energy that attacked the soul. They gritted their teeth and walked forward. They did not expect to pass through the fog so smoothly. However, they were different from Lu Ming. Lu Ming touched the giant eagle's body, but they did not touch anything. Lu Ming. At this moment a deep voice was heard. 3 young men walked over and greeted Lu Ming. It was the 3 Yuan brothers. The 3 Yuan brothers were telepathic. When they joined forces, their strength was not weak. After entering the Great Emperor Mystic Realm, they had successfully broken through to the Martial Emperor Realm. It was not strange for them to come here. What's going on in front? Lu Ming's gaze looked ahead. Many people stopped in front of him. It seemed that they were blocked. There's an abyss in front. It's blocking the way. Qiu Yingying explained. Lu Ming walked closer to take a look. It was indeed an abyss that was 100 miles wide. There was a terrifying devouring force under the abyss. Once a person flew into the abyss, they would be swallowed and fall into the abyss. No one could escape. Chapter 1438. Lu Ming walked forward and found a stone bridge. This stone bridge led to the other side of the abyss. That's the Heavenly Path Stone. Lu Ming's pupils suddenly constricted, revealing a look of shock. That was because the stone bridge was covered with heavenly path stones. At a glance, he did not know how many of them there were. Countless heavenly path stones formed a stone bridge that was 100 miles long, leading to the other side of the abyss. Heavens, how many heavenly path stones were there? His heart twitched violently. Was this the work of a arch? It was too shocking. The heavenly path stones on the stone bridge can't be dug out at all. Someone tried before, but he was knocked down into the abyss. The eldest of the 3 Yuan brothers, Yuan Tian, explained. Lu Ming nodded. He had guessed that. Otherwise, with so many heavenly path stones in front of them, this place would have been flooded with blood. Many young people gathered at the head of the bridge, looking at the stone bridge with worried faces. Someone is on the bridge again. Qiu Yingying whispered. At the head of the bridge, a young man stepped on the stone bridge. When he stepped on the stone bridge, his body trembled slightly, as if he was under a terrifying pressure. But he gritted his teeth and continued forward. After a while, his body suddenly trembled, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. His face turned pale. He hurriedly retreated from the stone bridge and let out a long breath. It still doesn't work. The young man sighed. What a piece of trash. Let me do it. A cold voice sounded. A young man walked out of the crowd and stepped on the stone bridge. Wang Xiao. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Wang Xiao's body emitted a sharp aura, like a sharp divine sword that could cut through everything. He walked forward step by step at a very fast speed. Soon, he had crossed more than half the distance. After crossing more than half the distance, he gradually slowed down, but it did not take long for him to cross the 100-mile stone bridge and disappear from everyone's sight. A leader is indeed powerful. Only prodigies with at least an inferior earth spirit body can cross this stone bridge. The heavenly path chi on it is too powerful. Many people sighed. It's because of the heavenly path chi. Lu Ming thought to himself. There were too many heavenly path stones on the stone bridge. The heavenly path chi on the stone bridge was definitely terrifying. The heavenly path chi was very useful for martial artists and inscriptionists. It could be used to comprehend the path and improve one's cultivation. However, this was referring to the heavenly Tao aura. Within a certain range of concentration, if the heavenly Tao aura was too concentrated, not only would it not be beneficial, it would instead be harmful. The powerful heavenly Tao aura could crush people to death. Damn it! It wasn't easy for me to enter the Grey Emperor's palace. Could it be that I'm going to be blocked by a stone bridge just like that? But now their path was blocked by a stone bridge. They were truly unwilling to accept this. More and more people tried, but most of them failed. Some tried to force their way through, but they were crushed to death and fell into the endless abyss. I'll give it a try. Lu Ming stepped forward. Qiu Yingying, Ruan Tian, and the others did not stop him. They knew how strong Lu Ming was. The stone bridge could not do anything to Lu Ming. Lu Ming stepped forward and covered his body with the primal chaos domain. What a rich heavenly path qi. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. The heavenly path qi here was too strong. It was many times stronger than the heavenly path marks that Lu Ming had faced before. This strength was far beyond what they could bear. Not only could they not comprehend the path, but there was also a strong pressure on his body. This was the pressure of the heavenly path. However, Lu Ming's primal chaos domain shook, and the heavenly path qi disappeared without a trace. Everything in the world comes from the primal chaos domain. The primal chaos domain is the emperor of thousands of domains. The heavenly path qi is useless against the primal chaos domain. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Then he continued forward. The stone bridge was very narrow, only allowing one person to pass. Lu Ming strode forward and soon crossed half of the bridge. However, at this time, Lu Ming suddenly turned around and went back the way he came. What's that guy doing? I saw that he was relaxed just now. I thought he would be able to pass. Why is he going back now? It didn't mean anything at the beginning. Maybe he was relaxed because he was going all out. It's normal for him to be tired now. That's true. After all, this stone bridge is not something that anyone can cross. Lu Ming's actions caused some people to discuss. Qiu Yingying, Qiu Hao, and the others were also surprised. Based on their understanding of Lu Ming, with Lu Ming's strength, it should not be a problem for him to cross the stone bridge. Why did he go back the way he came? Soon, Lu Ming reached the end of the bridge. Yingying, brother Qiu, come up. I'll bring you over. Lu Ming said. What? Qiu Yingying, Qiu Hao, and the three Ruan brothers were stunned. The others were also stunned. Lu Ming was going to bring someone over? How was that possible? It was difficult for others to cross alone. Even a prodigy like Wang Xiao had difficulty crossing the second half of the bridge. Now Lu Ming said that he was going to bring someone over. It was unbelievable. Yingying, Lu Ming called again. Qiu Yingying and Qiu Hao finally reacted. Okay. Qiu Yingying was the first to step forward. She walked in front of Lu Ming, and Qiu Hao stood behind Lu Ming. Stepping on the stone bridge meant that one's life was in danger, but they chose to believe in Lu Ming. Along the way, Lu Ming had brought them too many miracles. Brother Ruan, I'll send Yingying and the others over first. I'll find you later. Lu Ming said to Ruan Tian. Okay. Ruan Tian nodded in a daze. Let's go. The chaotic domain enveloped Qiu Yingying and Qiu Hao as the three of them stepped onto the stone bridge. Although the chaotic domain was magical, it was only level 1 now. Moreover, the stone bridge was very narrow and could only accommodate one person. Therefore, Lu Ming could not bring too many people at once. He could only bring 2 or 3 people. Therefore, he planned to send the 3 Ruan brothers over after sending Qiu Yingying and the others over. Everyone looked at Lu Ming. Some people sneered, thinking that Lu Ming would play with fire and burn himself. Lu Ming and the other 2 stepped onto the stone bridge. The powerful heavenly path aura outside pressed down on the chaotic domain, causing it to tremble. However, it resisted in the end. The 3 of them walked forward step by step. Soon, they surpassed the distance Lu Ming had walked and continued forward. Soon, the 3 of them successfully reached the other side. He did it. This person can actually bring people over. Unbelievable. This person must have some kind of treasure that can resist the heavenly path aura. Chapter 1439. Look, he's back. Someone shouted. In front of the stone bridge, a figure stepped forward. It was Lu Ming. Soon, Lu Ming returned to the starting point. Whoosh! A figure appeared in front of Lu Ming. It was a young man with fiery eyes. Brat, bring me over now. This young man was the one who sneered the most, thinking that Lu Ming would die on the bridge. Now that he saw that Lu Ming could really bring people over, he was the first to rush forward. Me too, bring me over. Bring me. One by one, the young men stepped forward and surrounded Lu Ming. I'm not free. Lu Ming glanced around indifferently. What do you mean by that? Not free. Today, even if you're not free, you have to be free. If you don't bring me over, don't go over yourself today. The young man who spoke first had a cold expression on his face. A cold aura locked onto Lu Ming. The others also had unfriendly expressions. Indeed, you want to go over and get the great emperor's treasure. How dare you leave us here? Someone spoke, which almost made Lu Ming laugh. You don't have the ability to go over, yet you're blaming Lu Ming. If you can't get it, you can't let Lu Ming get it either. Get lost. Lu Ming roared. A terrifying shockwave spread out in all directions. Some of the weaker cultivators couldn't help but retreat. Everyone, let's join forces. With so many of us, we can take him down. Let's control him. And let him send us over one by one. The young man who spoke first yelled. Boom, boom, boom. Auras burst out. There were at least a few hundred people present. Each of them stared at Lu Ming with unfriendly eyes. Their auras suppressed Lu Ming. How can you people be like this? How can you force us to bring him or not? Lu Ming, don't worry about us. You cross the bridge first. Wan Tian's deep voice resounded. Brat, surrender obediently. If you cross the bridge alone, your friends will fall into the endless abyss. The young man who spoke first said coldly. Hee hee. Lu Ming smiled faintly. He looked at the young man and said, You brought this upon yourself. As soon as his voice fell, Lu Ming's figure moved and appeared in front of the young man. The young man's face fell, and he wanted to retreat, but Lu Ming waved his hand, and his primal chaos domain spread out, forming a giant primal chaos hand that crushed the young man's defenses and grabbed him. Let go of me. What are you doing? Let me warn you. My senior brother is the leader of the Heaven King Palace. The young man shouted, threatening Lu Ming. I'll send you down to the abyss to play. Lu Ming sneered. You dare? Everyone, let's attack together and take him down. The young man roared loudly, encouraging the others. Put him down. You're courting death. More than 10 people roared as they charged at Lu Ming. More than 10 attacks fell on Lu Ming. Lightning Element Technique. Lu Ming transformed his primal chaos domain into a lightning domain and executed the lightning element technique. 10 lightning spears appeared in the air and pierced through the air. Puff, puff. More than 10 young men were penetrated by the lightning spears and died on the spot, killing more than 10 first-layer martial dominator realm cultivators with a single attack, causing the others to be dumbfounded. They finally realized that not only was Lu Ming able to cross the bridge by himself, he was also able to bring people over with him. After killing more than 10 young men as an example, the others did not dare to attack. Lu Ming grabbed the young man's hand and pulled him out of the abyss. No! The young man screamed as he stared at the abyss below him. I'll send you down, Lu Ming said coldly as he reached out his hand. The young man was immediately devoured by the devouring force of the abyss and fell into the abyss. Only cries of agony could be heard. Who else wants to go down? I don't mind sending you on your way. Lu Ming scanned the crowd. No one dared to make a sound. Lu Ming's combat strength was more than enough to crush them. Brother Wan, let's get on the bridge, Lu Ming said. The 3 Wan brothers nodded. They stood in a row with Lu Ming and moved forward. Soon they crossed the stone bridge. In front of the stone bridge was a stone wall that blocked the way. The stone wall was indestructible and could not be broken. There was a light door on the stone wall. It was the only way out. Those who had crossed the bridge had obviously left through this light door. Let's go in, Lu Ming said. Everyone nodded and stepped into the light door together. The space trembled. In the next moment, Lu Ming arrived in a stone room. Lu Ming looked around and found that he was the only one in the stone room. Qiu Yingying and the others were nowhere to be seen. It seemed that the door was a teleportation portal. They had been teleported here and scattered. Whoosh! Suddenly, Lu Ming felt a sharp chi slashing at Lu Ming. Without the slightest hesitation, Lu Ming took a step back and retreated rapidly. However, the sharp chi was also shockingly fast. It followed Lu Ming and slashed at him. What's that? Lu Ming frowned. He could only vaguely see a black light slashing at him. As for what it was too fast for him to see clearly. Get lost! Lu Ming yelled and threw a punch at him. Clang! The sound of metal clashing was heard. Lu Ming's violent fist force crushed forward and finally repelled the thing that was slashing at him. At this moment, Lu Ming finally saw what attacked him. A pair of wings. A pair of black wings. They were not the wings of a monster, but made of strange metal. Every single feather on the wings was black and shiny. They were filled with sharpness like sharp divine swords. Lu Ming thought of Hai Pingtian from the continent of divine ruins. Hai Pingtian also had a pair of wings, which was an emperor's spiritual weapon. However, that pair of wings was trash compared to the one in front of him. The pair in front of him was a divine weapon. Lu Ming took a liking to her at first glance. I'm lucky to encounter a divine weapon as soon as I teleported here. Lu Ming smiled. He stepped forward and pounced at the black wings. He reached out his hand and was about to grab the black wings. Whoosh! The black wings spread open and slashed at Lu Ming like two divine swords. They were extremely sharp. Lu Ming punched and used the heaven-suppressing hell skill. He covered it with the chaotic field and bombarded the wings. With a clang, the wings were sent flying again. Whoosh! After the wings were sent flying, they flapped and tried to escape. You have some intelligence. However, you can't escape from me. Lu Ming pressed forward with one hand. The chaotic field exploded and covered the entire stone room. No matter how the black wings flew, they could not escape from the chaotic field. Shrink! The chaotic field began to shrink and finally trapped the black wings. Refine! Then Lu Ming's ethereal force surged into the black wings and began to refine them. Chapter 1440. So it's the sacred weapon of Ming. Black wings. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. The sacred weapon of Ming was Ming Sheng's personal weapon. Above that, there were great sacred weapons and absolute sacred weapons. After that round of refinement, Lu Ming had only grasped the basics of this winged sacred weapon. With his current cultivation, it was impossible for him to completely refine it. He could only slowly refine it in the future and deepen his grasp of the black wings. With a toss of the black wings automatically flew behind Lu Ming and sank into Lu Ming's back. The next moment, Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Whoosh! On his back, the black wings spread out, making Lu Ming look as if he had grown a pair of wings out of thin air. Swoosh! With a flap of the black wings, Lu Ming's figure disappeared from the spot at an astonishing speed. Lu Ming circled around the stone room dozens of times before returning to his original spot. Not bad. Lu Ming was very satisfied with the black wings. He had the black wings. If combined with the wind origin technique and the air frozen bead, his speed would definitely be greatly increased. At the same time, the black wings also had a powerful attack power. Moreover, the wings could wrap around the entire body and had a powerful defensive ability. This sacred weapon could be said to be one of the few sacred weapons with all kinds of functions. If sold, the price would be more than 10 times more expensive than other sacred weapons of the same level. With a thought, the black wings retracted and sank into his skin, disappearing. Next, Lu Ming looked around. Apart from the black wings and the passageway in front of him, there was nothing else in this stone room. Lu Ming stepped forward and walked towards the passageway. Caw! Suddenly there was a cry. At the entrance of the passageway, a huge black goshawk suddenly appeared and swooped towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming's expression changed. This goshawk was of course not real. It was condensed from some kind of energy. More importantly, it appeared too suddenly. Lu Ming subconsciously retreated rapidly. However, he found that the goshawk did not chase after him. Instead, it floated in the air and looked at Lu Ming. Young man, go back. Don't continue forward. Otherwise, there will be a great disaster. The goshawk suddenly spoke. Who are you? Lu Ming asked. It doesn't matter who I am. Go back, there's no road ahead. The goshawk spoke again. Disaster? No path. I don't believe it. If I don't try, how will I know that there is no path? Lu Ming smiled and stepped forward. Along the way, they had encountered so many obstacles. How could Lu Ming be blocked by a goshawk? The goshawk seemed to sigh. Then it flapped its wings and pounced on Lu Ming. Boom! Lu Ming activated his primal chaos domain and punched out. The violent fist force crushed out, causing the stone room to rumble and shake. This is Primal Chaos Domain. Goshawk cried out in surprise. Then, it flapped its wings rapidly and a terrifying gale swept out. The gale collided with Lu Ming's fist, creating bursts of explosive sounds. Finally, the gale disappeared, and Lu Ming could not help but retreat a few steps. What a powerful force! Lu Ming's face turned solemn. It seems that I can't do it without using my full strength, Lu Ming thought to himself. However, at this moment something strange happened. Suddenly, another figure appeared in the void. It was a black shadow shrouded in black light, and its specific appearance could not be seen clearly. As soon as it appeared, it pounced on the goshawk. The black shadow and the goshawk engaged in an intense battle. Young man, I'll hold him back. You go over. An old voice came from the black shadow. It sounded gentle and comfortable. Don't go over. You have to hear me, the goshawk shouted. Boom. The black shadow pounced on the goshawk and launched an even more violent attack. The battle was intense. Lu Ming furrowed his brows. What was going on with the goshawk and the black shadow? Was it a checkpoint here? Or a test? Why did one let him go over, and the other not? Maybe it's just a test. I'll pass. Lu Ming made up his mind. Since he had already come this far, it was impossible for Lu Ming to give up and leave just because of a few words from a goshawk. Whoosh! Lu Ming activated the wind origin technique, and the power of the air-frozen bead surged. Taking advantage of the gap between the goshawk and the black shadow, his figure flashed and rushed into the passage and disappeared. Boom! The goshawk and the black shadow exchanged a blow and both retreated. Sigh! The goshawk looked at Lu Ming's back inside. Hee, Emperor Tsong, it's impossible for you to stop them. You've lost this round. A cold and harsh laughter came from the black shadow. It was completely different from the gentle voice just now. However, Lu Ming could no longer hear those words. He walked along the passage and soon, light appeared in front of him. He had reached the end of the passage. Clang! Boom! In front of him, there was a violent explosion and the sound of metal colliding. Someone was fighting. Lu Ming slowed down and rushed over from the entrance of the passage. Whoosh! As soon as Lu Ming rushed out, he saw a small black flag flying toward him. There was demonic chi on the small flag. Emperor-level spiritual weapon, ownerless. Lu Ming thought. Get lost. Suddenly, there was a loud roar in front of him. It was very domineering. A huge palm that was completely formed by demonic chi grabbed at Lu Ming and the small flag. Humph. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold. He threw a punch, and the huge palm exploded. Lu Ming reached out and grabbed the small black flag in his hand. Kid, how dare you stop me? A domineering voice sounded. In front of Lu Ming, a young man looked at him coldly, and his body was full of demonic chi. This is. Lu Ming glanced at the young man and skipped over him, looking elsewhere. It was a huge hall that was incomparably spacious. In the void, there were beams of treasure light flying around. Among them, there were many young men chasing after these beams of treasure light. Emperor-level spiritual weapons and even sacred weapons. Lu Ming was astounded. Most of the treasures flying in the air were ruler-level spiritual weapons, and there were more than 100 of them. Among them, there were also saint weapons and even medicinal pills. More than 10 young men were flying in the air, chasing after the treasures. Occasionally, they would even fight one another because of the treasures. How powerful! Lu Ming discovered that these young men possessed powerful cultivations. They were all second-layer martial dominators. Lu Ming saw a few familiar faces among them. The leader of the Dragon God Valley, Yu. The leader of the Nine Heavens Sword Sect, Wang Xiao. The leader of the Heavenly God Sect, Shi Tian. The leader of the Sword of Life and Death Sect, Luo Xiang. They were the leaders of their respective sections. Indeed, those who were able to make it here were extremely powerful. Kid, how dare you ignore me? In front of Lu Ming, the young man with a strong demonic chi pointed his finger at Lu Ming. A black finger that looked like the finger of a demon pierced through the void and stabbed in Lu Ming's direction with a terrifying might. If the finger were to hit, Lu Ming would die for sure. Such a domineering person, trying to take someone's life. Lu Ming's expression became cold as he threw out a punch. Bang! Chapter 1441. Break for me. A sinister look flashed across the eyes of the demonic youth, but in the next moment, his expression changed drastically. He could feel a terrifying power coming from his finger. This power was like an avalanche, like an ancient divine mountain crashing into his finger. Crack. His finger made a cracking sound as it was deformed. He roared and retreated rapidly, taking more than 10 steps back, as he looked at Lu Ming with a sinister expression. In the previous move, Lu Ming had broken his finger bone with a punch. After taking a look at Lu Ming, there was a trace of graveness in this person's eyes. He did not continue to attack. Instead, his figure swayed, and he dashed toward an Emperor-level spirit weapon combat sword. His domain spread out and shrouded the Emperor-level spirit weapon combat sword. Suppress! At this moment, Lu Ming also made his move. With a wave of his hand, the chaotic domain spread out and suppressed the 2 Emperor-level combat weapons. Then he put them away. Is this a treasure trove? Lu Ming looked around and saw the light flying in the sky. A thought flashed across Lu Ming's mind. In the next moment, Lu Ming made his move again without hesitation. There were more than 10 youths present, and each of them had a strong cultivation. If he continued to delay, he would not have a share. Whoosh! Whoosh! More than 10 youths made their moves at an extremely fast speed. There were fewer and fewer lights flying in the sky as they put away the Emperor-level combat weapons. In a short time, Lu Ming had obtained 8 Emperor-level combat weapons. Get lost! Boom! In the sky, there were more people fighting. 2 youths were fighting over a saint weapon. However, the 2 of them were wary of each other. When they saw the saint weapon flying away, they stopped and chased after the saint weapon. Soon, the Emperor-level combat weapons were almost all collected. There were only a few saint weapons left in the sky, and a few jade boxes flying in the sky. Those jade boxes were the fastest. They were like bolts of lightning that streaked across the sky. It was difficult to stop them. Whoosh! Lu Ming's figure soared into the sky and pounced on a saint weapon. This sacred weapon was a jade bracelet filled with dense devil qi. Lu Ming thought of Xian Yinqing. This jade bracelet was very suitable for Xian Yinqing. Scram! Lu Ming wasn't the only one who was interested in this jade bracelet. There were 2 other youths as well. One of them was the demonic youth who had attacked Lu Ming before. The other person was dressed in a green robe and had an evil smile on his face. The green-robed youth made a grabbing motion with his hand, and streams of green mist spread toward Lu Ming. As soon as the fog appeared, a disgusting smell filled the air. Poison gas. This poisonous gas was extremely poisonous. However, what Lu Ming was least afraid of was lethal poison. The power of devouring enveloped Lu Ming's entire body. Ignoring the green mist, Lu Ming charged through it and sent a palm strike at the green-robed youth. The green-robed youth didn't expect Lu Ming to completely ignore the poisonous gas. His expression changed. He waved his hand, and a swarm of poisonous insects appeared in front of him. The poisonous insects formed a shield in front of him. Lu Ming's palm struck down, and a large number of poisonous insects exploded. The green-robed youth trembled and retreated dozens of meters. Bam! Then Lu Ming's leg was like a steel whip, sweeping toward the young man with a sinister demonic aura, forcing him to retreat. Lu Ming's right hand grabbed the jade bracelet. Buzz buzz! The jade bracelet in Lu Ming's hand was still vibrating nonstop. What a strong spirituality! Lu Ming was delighted. The stronger the spirituality of a sacred weapon, the higher the grade, and the more precious it was. For example, Lu Ming's lightning cauldron and air-frozen pearl were definitely extraordinary. Hand over the sacred weapon, and I'll spare your life, the green-robed youth said and stared coldly at Lu Ming. If you want to die, come here. Lu Ming's simple reply was extremely domineering. The green-robed youth's face was gloomy and cold, killing intent emanated from his body. He was one of the 13 top forces that had entered the Great Emperor's mystic realm, the leader of the Desire Poison sect. He was very strong, and was good at using poison. Even the leaders of the other sects were wary of him. Now, Lu Ming actually dared to speak to him in such a manner, courting death. In his heart, he had already sentenced Lu Ming to death. 10,000 poisons massacre. The young man in the green robe shouted coldly. His figure moved, and he pounced on Lu Ming. He waved his palm, and densely packed poisonous insects appeared. These poisonous insects had hard carapaces on their bodies, and they constantly spurted poisonous gas from their mouths. Moreover, what was even more amazing was that these poisonous insects could actually combine. Countless poisonous insects formed a combat weapon and charged at Lu Ming. In the air, more than 10 combat weapons appeared. They were all made of poisonous insects. Some were swords, some were sabers. The similarity was that all of them were filled with poison. Devour! Lu Ming stretched out his palms. The terrifying devouring power shrouded all the poisonous insects in it. The devouring power exploded, and the dense poisonous gas was instantly absorbed by Lu Ming. The poisonous insects were also instantly sucked dry of their blood essence. Their blood fell to the ground like raindrops. What a powerful poisonous gas! After devouring so much poisonous gas, Lu Ming felt his body go numb. Lu Ming could not help but sigh at the power of the poisonous gas. This was the first time Lu Ming's body went numb from a poisonous gas. In the past, any poisonous gas would be devoured by Lu Ming's devouring power, and would be refined. It would not affect Lu Ming at all. This is the Yuan continent after all. This poisonous gas reminded Lu Ming. After all, this was the Yuan continent, and not the mainland of the divine ruins. The laws of heaven and earth were perfect, and everything in heaven and earth was different from the mainland of the divine ruins. It was possible that some terrifying poisonous gas could be born here. Even the devouring power could not devour the poisonous gas. Lu Ming warned himself that he could not be careless when dealing with poisonous gas in the future. Of course, the green-robed youth's poisonous gas was nothing to Lu Ming. It only made Lu Ming's body go numb for a moment, before it was refined by the devouring power. You! The green-robed youth looked at Lu Ming in disbelief. His poisonous gas was actually devoured by Lu Ming. How was this possible? Even experts with a much higher cultivation than him wouldn't dare to touch his poisonous gas, let alone swallow it into their bodies. You want to use this poisonous gas to poison people? Ridiculous. Lu Ming smiled indifferently and took a step forward. The terrifying chaotic domain pressed down on the green-robed youth. The green-robed youth's face changed drastically, and he tried his best to resist. However, his poisonous gas had lost its power, and his combat strength was much weaker than the other leaders. He was crushed by Lu Ming's chaotic domain. He vomited blood, and his body flew far away. Many of his bones were broken. Boom! Boom! At this moment, the battle for the sacred weapons had reached its climax. More than 10 youths fought fiercely over a few sacred weapons. In the end, the sacred weapons were taken by different people. Luo Xiang of the Life and Death Sword sect had become stronger after obtaining the Sword Dao inheritance. His sword qi pierced through the air and cut through everything. He took a sacred weapon battle sword. Shi Tian of the Heavenly Divine sect was like a deity. He also took a sacred weapon. He Yu of the Dragon God Valley had the Blood Dragon battle body and was extremely powerful. He also took a sacred weapon. Chapter 1442. Bang! At this moment, a flying jade box was accidentally smashed by someone. Suddenly, a palm-sized translucent armor appeared in the air, flickering with a strange fluctuation. That's a spiritual god defensive treasure. Someone cried out in alarm. Everyone's gazes were fixed on the jade armor. Their eyes were burning with passion. A spiritual god defensive treasure. It's a spiritual god defensive treasure. No matter how strong a martial artist's spiritual body was, the spiritual god was the most fragile and fatal weakness of a martial artist. If one were to encounter dangers that could harm one's soul in secret realms, ruins, or forbidden lands, a spiritual god defensive treasure could save one's life. This kind of treasure was extremely difficult to refine, as it was linked to one's soul. It was priceless, and could not be bought on the market. It's mine! It's mine! More than 10 young men moved at the same time, and rushed toward the jade armor. Get lost! It's you! Boom! 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 More than 10 people fought fiercely. Sword qi and saber light crisscrossed. Everyone wanted to get their hands on the jade armor. For a moment no one could get it. Whoosh! A pair of black wings appeared on Lu Ming's back. At the same time, He used the wind origin technique and disappeared. In the next moment, he broke through the obstacles and appeared near the jade armor. "It's you," a young man hollered. Sacred light surged toward Lu Ming like a tide. It was the leader of the heavenly divinity sect, Shirtian. "Get lost," Lu Ming shouted and stepped forward. He used the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps, and the chaotic domain burst out. The divine energy on Shirtian's body trembled violently. His body trembled, and he was sent flying by Lu Ming. Whoosh! Lu Ming stretched out his hand and formed a big hand to grab the jade armor. Don't even think about it. The rest of the people were engaged in a chaotic battle. However, the moment they saw Lu Ming approaching the jade armor and was about to obtain it, they attacked Lu Ming one after another. At least 5 or 6 attacks were launched toward Lu Ming. These people were the leaders of their sections. Their cultivation had reached the 2nd layer martial royal realm, and their attacks were terrifying. It was even more terrifying when they joined forces. "Block it!" The black wings on Lu Ming's back closed together and enveloped Lu Ming. At the same time, the primal chaos domain spread out and covered his entire body. Dong! Dong! An intense explosion resounded. The primal chaos domain and the black wings shook violently. However, it was blocked by Lu Ming in the end. At the same time, Lu Ming grabbed the jade armor and put it into his storage ring. "Hand over the treasure, otherwise die." Cold voices rang out one after another. At least 6 auras locked onto Lu Ming. Lu Ming glanced around and saw 6 youths surrounding Lu Ming. Shirtian, Hiyu Wang Xiao, the demonic youth, the green-robed youth, and a burly youth. The others, such as Luo Xiang, stood to the side and did not make a move. "I'm afraid the 6 of you aren't enough to take my life." Lu Ming smiled indifferently, and Lu Ming looked at Hiyu and said, "We're from the same sect. Are you going to attack me too? This treasure isn't something you can handle. Hand it to me and I'll report it to the sect and give you a reward." Hiyu said coldly, "Hand it to you? Haha, what a hypocrite. If you want it, just say it." Lu Ming mocked. Then I'll test you and see what you're made of," Hiyu said coldly. His body was filled with blood-red light, and a dragon's roar resounded. A layer of blood-red dragon scales appeared on the surface of his skin. Bam! Hiyu took a step forward, and his entire body was like a human-shaped dragon as he pounced towards Lu Ming. His hand also became like a dragon's claw as he grabbed at Lu Ming. Blood Dragon War Body. I'd like to see how strong it is. Lu Ming threw out a punch. Bam! The fists collided with the dragon's claw, and there was a dull explosion. Then, Hiyu's body trembled, and he was forced to retreat continuously. This person is so strong. He can actually force Hiyu to retreat. The eyes of the surrounding youths froze. Among them, Hiyu was the strongest in close combat. No one was a match for Hiyu in close combat. However, Lu Ming had forced Hiyu to retreat. It was simply shocking. We'd better attack together. This person is demonic and not easy to deal with, Shirtian said with a cold, murderous intent. Lu Ming was someone he had to kill. I think so too. Hiyu, you don't have any objections, right? Wang Xiao said and looked at Hiyu. It's fine. This person has no respect for the law, and even dares to hurt the disciples of the Divine Dragon Valley. He's lawless and deserves to be killed, Hiyu said coldly. Haha, so many of you against one person, and you're still speaking so righteously. How despicable. A disdainful voice was heard, but it wasn't Lu Ming but Luo Xiang. Shirtian and the others' eyes turned cold, but they didn't say anything. Attack, Shirtian said and made the first move. Sacred light burst out from his body and formed a sacred spear, which he threw at Lu Ming. At the same time, Wang Xiao released sword aura from his palm. An extremely sharp sword gleam cut through the void and slashed toward Lu Ming. Following this, the young man with the sinister demonic aura and the young man in a green robe attacked at the same time. Together with Hiyu, the 6 of them had both close combat and long-range attacks. Since they were all peerless geniuses, their strength far surpassed that of ordinary emperors. Even a 4th-layer martial royal realm expert would be killed instantly when the 6 of them worked together. Even a 5th-layer martial royal realm expert would have to retreat. Kill. Lu Ming yelled as he flapped his black wings and dashed toward one of them. Lu Ming wouldn't stand in the middle like a fool and be treated as a target. If they wanted to fight, they would defeat them one by one. Lu Ming chose the young man in a green robe. Among the 6 of them, the young man in a green robe posed the least threat to Lu Ming. Lu Ming dodged 3 of the attacks and took 2 of them head-on. He arrived in front of the young man in a green robe and activated his 3rd bloodline. Streams of energy flowed into Lu Ming's body, further strengthening Lu Ming's strength. He reached out with his left hand and unleashed a devouring force that engulfed the young man in a green robe. At the same time, he threw a punch with his right hand. The hell-suppressing heaven skill combined with the chaotic domain was unleashed. Bang! The space trembled and formed a terrifying fist intent that slammed toward the young man in a green robe. The young man in a green robe's poisonous aura was devoured by the devouring force. Following this, Lu Ming's fist intent landed on him. The young man in a green robe let out a cry of agony as his body was blasted apart by Lu Ming's fist intent and turned into a cloud of green mist. The next moment, the mist gathered and tried to reform his body. The young man in a green robe's spiritual body was a poison spiritual body among the medium earth spiritual bodies. Like a flame spiritual body, it had a strong vitality and could turn into poisonous gas to reduce the cold. Chapter 1443. Destroy. Lu Ming pressed his palm down, and the chaotic domain spread out, enveloping the green-robed youth and refining him. Save me. The green fog tumbled as the green-robed youth screamed. Of course, his voice was emitted by energy vibrations. Let him go. A loud roar was heard, and a demonic aura surged. A small pagoda with demonic aura flew out from the youth's head and rapidly grew in size, suppressing Lu Ming. Sacred weapon. Without a doubt, this small pagoda was also a sacred weapon. These people were the leaders of their respective sections. To be able to come this far, they had naturally gained a lot. Each of them had obtained a sacred weapon. The youth with the demonic aura was called Wuxia, and he came from the Sky Universe Demon Sect. His small pagoda was the sacred weapon he had obtained when he entered the Great Emperor's mystic realm. Although he couldn't unleash much of the power of a sacred weapon with his cultivation, it was still stronger than an emperor-grade spiritual weapon. The small pagoda grew to the size of a small mountain and pressed down on Lu Ming. There was a terrifying suction force under the pagoda that seemed to want to suck Lu Ming in. Shwa! The black feather wing on Lu Ming's back flapped out and rapidly grew in size. It slashed towards the small pagoda like a blade. Dang! The small pagoda shook and demonic aura tumbled as it was sent flying. However, the black feather wing was suppressed by the small pagoda and flew back. Boom! Boom! Wung! Wung! At this moment, a powerful aura rose from Hiyu, Wang Xiao, Shirtian and the burly youth. Each of them had a battle weapon floating out from their bodies. They were all sacred weapons. They had all used their sacred weapons to kill Lu Ming. Lu Ming's face turned serious. If he didn't use his sacred weapons and fought with his own strength, Lu Ming wouldn't be afraid, even if he was surrounded by 6 experts. He might even be able to win. However, since all of them had used their sacred weapons, their strength was reduced. It would become a clash between sacred weapons. This wasn't good for Lu Ming. Wung! Lu Ming's glabella lit up, and the lightning cauldron floated out. Pung! At this moment, a sword light flashed in the sky, and a jade box was shattered. A jade talisman flew out of the jade box. Hiyu and company besieged Lu Ming, but the others were not watching the show. They were chasing after the 2 remaining jade boxes in the sky. The jade box from before contained a jade armor. It was clear that the treasure in the jade box was even more precious. As soon as the jade talisman appeared, the remaining few people began to fight over it. Hiyu Shirtian and the others' faces paled. I'll spare him this time, Shirtian said. He was the first to rush into the sky and participate in the struggle for the jade talismans. When the others saw this, they all went to fight for the jade talismans. Lu Ming's expression was calm, and he didn't participate. Instead, he looked at the last jade box. This jade box was the fastest, dancing in the air like a bolt of lightning. Whoosh! Lu Ming suddenly made a move. He clawed out with his palm, and a large hand formed to grab the jade box. However, the jade box was extremely agile, and in a flash, it dodged Lu Ming's palm. Then, Lu Ming's figure flickered as he executed the wind origin art, chasing after the jade box at lightning speed. However, the jade box emitted a bright light, and its speed suddenly increased, leaving Lu Ming in the dust. Fuck! Lu Ming cursed inwardly. How could a jade box be faster than him? Was there any justice in this world? Lu Ming chased after the jade box. On the other side, the battle for the jade talisman had already been decided. In the end, the jade talisman was obtained by a peerless woman. Shirtian and the others' eyes flickered, but they didn't continue to fight for the jade talisman. It was obvious that they were wary of this woman. At this time, everyone's attention was on the last jade box. Then everyone made a move. Their figures dashed toward the jade box, but the jade box was incomparably agile. It flickered in the air, evading everyone's attacks. Even when someone used a holy artifact, it was useless. I suggest that we spread out in all directions of the stone room, and use our domains to envelop the stone room. This way, the jade box has nowhere to run. Someone suggested. All right. I have no objections. Let's fight for the jade box after we get it. Someone else said. Everyone had no objections. Their figures flickered, and they spread out in all directions. There were a total of 13 people. Originally, the 13 leaders of the top sects, including Lu Ming, had a total of 14 people. However, the green-robed young man was killed by Lu Ming, and now there were only 13 people left. Buzz! 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 Each of the 13 cultivators unleashed a domain, which expanded rapidly and slowly shrouded the entire stone chamber. The jade box's range of movement became smaller and smaller. In the end, it had no choice but to be shrouded by the domain. Haha, it's mine! A young man was overjoyed. It was Shirtian. In the end, the jade box was shrouded by his domain. Come here! Shirtian shouted, and his domain shrunk rapidly. The jade box glowed and tried to escape. Then with a bang, the jade box exploded, and the thing inside was revealed. It was actually a pill. On it, there was a bright fluorescent light, and a strange phenomenon appeared, surrounded by the aura of the great Tao. When they saw the pill, everyone's eyes widened. The breakthrough sage pill. It's the breakthrough sage pill. This breakthrough sage pill is mine. Wuxia was the first to shout. The others also revealed a blazing light in their eyes. It was the breakthrough sage pill. Even Lu Ming's heart was burning with excitement. The breakthrough sage pill could help one break through to the martial sage realm. It was extremely difficult for a martial king to break through to the martial sage realm. There were many people at the peak of the martial king realm in Yuan continent. For example, there were many experts at the peak of the martial king realm in the 13 top sects in Song province. However, there were very few martial sages. A martial saint was considered an expert in the primordial continent. However, even top geniuses like Shirtian and he were not confident that they could break through to the martial sage realm. In history, there were many outstanding geniuses who had reached the peak of the martial king realm early on, but they could not break through to the martial sage realm. They were stuck at the peak of the martial king realm for their entire lives, and died when their lifespan was exhausted. The breakthrough sage pill could increase one's chances of breaking through to the martial sage realm by 30%. 30% was a terrifying probability. It would make countless experts at the peak of the martial king realm fight for it, especially for top geniuses like them. If the probability was increased by 30%, they would be confident that they could break through to the martial sage realm in the future. Don't even think about it. The breakthrough sage pill happens to be in my realm. It is fated to be with me. Shirtian shouted and shrank his realm. He wanted to snatch the breakthrough sage pill. However, the breakthrough sage pill seemed to have a mind of its own. With a tremble, it broke through Shirtian's realm and escaped from Shirtian's control. It's mine! The others flew up and pounced on the breakthrough sage pill. Various rays of light condensed into large hands and grabbed at the breakthrough sage pill. However, the breakthrough sage pill emitted rays of light. It flew past and pierced through the large hands, causing them to miss. Swoosh! Lu Ming performed the wind origin skill and flapped his black wings. He was as fast as lightning as he pounced on the breakthrough sage pill. In an instant, he appeared a few meters away from the breakthrough sage pill. Chapter 1444. However, to Lu Ming's surprise, although the break sage elixir was stopped for a moment, it was only for a moment. The break sage elixir pierced through the giant hand that Lu Ming had formed. Even the giant hand formed by the chaotic domain could not stop the break sage elixir. The level of my chaotic domain is still too low. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He knew that it was not because the chaotic domain was useless, but because the level of his chaotic domain was too low. It was only a level 1 domain, which was why it could not stop the break sage elixir. Subsequently, the others made their moves, but none of them managed to get the break sage elixir. Suddenly, Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Bubbles and Dandan appeared on Lu Ming's shoulder. The two of them were still burping, and their mouths were filled with medicinal fragrance. Another spiritual elixir? As soon as Dandan appeared, its eyes rolled around. Dandan, Bubbles, help me get the break sage elixir. Lu Ming transmitted his voice to Dandan and Bubbles. Chirp chirp. As soon as Lu Ming finished his words, Bubbles waved its pair of small claws outward. As the bubbles danced, space began to surge like waves. Dang! The break sage elixir was flying, but suddenly it seemed to have hit a hard wall, making a loud thud. Bubbles had done something to the space and froze it. Lu Ming was overjoyed. Bubbles was indeed a space-time spirit mouse. It could control time and space. Even in Yuan continent, where space was extremely stable, Bubbles could still control it. Bubbles waved its claws and controlled the space to form a space box, sealing the break sage elixir inside. As for Lu Ming, he dashed over. Stop him! Wang Xiao shouted, and a sword radiance slashed at Lu Ming. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold. He waved his hand and dispersed the sword radiance. The mountain river diagram appeared between his eyebrows. He wanted to keep the break sage elixir into the mountain river diagram. But at this moment, the saint-breaking pill shone brightly. The light was like a sharp sword, breaking through the frozen space formed by the bubble in one fell swoop. Then, like a bolt of lightning, it rushed to the side of the stone room. At the side of the stone room, there was a passage. The breakthrough sage pill rushed directly into the passage. Where do you think you're going? Lu Ming used the wind element technique. With a flap of his black wings, he flew towards the tunnel like a bolt of lightning. Chase! Behind him, the others also chased after him. Dandan stopped them. Lu Ming transmitted his voice to Dandan. Leave it to me. Dandan grinned. Whoosh! When Lu Ming rushed into the tunnel, Dandan opened its mouth and a light flashed. A shield condensed and blocked the entrance of the tunnel. The first to arrive was Shirtian. His fist landed on the shield with a loud bang, but the shield did not budge. Damn it! Shirtian roared. Then the others also arrived and launched their attacks. However, they could not break the tortoiseshell shield in a short time. During this period of time, Dandan had swallowed too many spiritual herbs, as well as a few half-saint herbs from before. Her injuries had long recovered, and she had even advanced. The tortoiseshell shield that he had condensed with all his strength would not be broken so easily. Damn it, the core is inside. Break the tortoiseshell. Let's attack together. Anxious voices sounded. Shirtian, Wang Xiao, and the others joined forces to attack. The tortoiseshell shield vibrated. It would not be long before it was broken by them. However, it was enough for Lu Ming to block it for a while. After Lu Ming rushed into the passage, he did not stop and chased after the breakthrough sage pill at an extremely fast speed. Chirp chirp, Bubble cried and suddenly flew out from Lu Ming's shoulder. It opened its mouth, and a transparent bubble suddenly appeared, enveloping the breakthrough sage pill. The breakthrough sage pill shone and wanted to break through, but it could not break through for a while. This transparent bubble not only contained the space domain, but also the time domain. Bubble flew over and swallowed the transparent bubble. Its furry body flashed, and it returned to Lu Ming's shoulder. Then, it opened its mouth obediently, and the breakthrough sage pill flew out. Lu Ming grabbed the shung-breaking elixir in his hands. Lu Ming, I'll seal it, Dandan said. Then she waved her claws. Dense inscriptions appeared and wrapped around the saint-breaking elixir, forming a sealing formation. Not only could it prevent the saint-breaking elixir from flying around, but it could also prevent the loss of its medicinal efficacy. Breakthrough Sage Pill. Lu Ming revealed a smile. He took out a jade box and put the sheng-breaking elixir into a storage ring. The Breakthrough Sage Pill was priceless. For those who were stuck at the peak of the martial royal realm and could not break through, it was more precious than any holy weapon. Those people were willing to buy a Breakthrough Sage Pill even if they had to sell their family's fortune. Of course, Lu Ming did not plan to sell it. It would be useful to keep it with him. After putting away the Breakthrough Sage Pill, Lu Ming looked ahead. There seemed to be light in front of the passage. We should be close to the core of the great emperor's palace. Lu Ming thought and stepped forward. As for Dandan and Bubble, they returned to the mountain river diagram to continue digesting the medicinal efficacy. Soon they arrived at the entrance of the passage. But strangely, looking out from the entrance of the passage, it seemed to be a starry sky. And that light came from the starry sky. Is it really a starry sky outside the passage? Lu Ming muttered in his heart. After pondering for a while, he stepped out and walked out. The moment Lu Ming stepped out of the passage, he felt the space around him change. The next moment he found himself in a starry sky. It was a real starry sky. There were stars all around him. He was floating in the starry sky. That is. The next moment, Lu Ming opened his eyes wide in shock. There were two huge creatures in the starry sky in front of him. One of them was a huge goshawk. This goshawk was too huge and majestic. It covered the sky and the sun, as if it was bigger than the stars. A pair of huge eyes was looking at Lu Ming. It's alive! This huge goshawk was actually alive. Opposite the goshawk was a human figure. This human figure was also incomparably huge, like a giant that could support the heavens and earth. However, this figure's appearance could not be seen clearly. It was shrouded in a layer of black light. It was distorted in the starry sky and looked extremely evil. This huge figure seemed to be sizing up Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming discovered that both the goshawk and the gigantic human figure seemed to be injured and severely injured. One of the goshawk's wings was missing. There were many wounds all over its body. Some of the wounds were even bleeding. The huge eyes were bright, but seemed a little lifeless. It was a very strange feeling. As for the huge figure, it was not much better. It was missing a leg, and there were claw marks on its body. There was even a big hole in its chest. Ha ha ha, Emperor Tsang. It seems that you have lost in the end. You have fought against me for 60,000 years. In the end, I am still slightly better. You will be buried here. At this moment the huge figure laughed. Chapter 1445. Lu Ming's mind was also buzzing. Lu Ming was dumbstruck and in disbelief. Sangdi. That figure was called Sangdi. Could it be that the giant eagle in front was Sangdi? Legend had it that Sangdi's original form was a goshawk. Sangdi was not dead. At this moment, Lu Ming was shocked beyond words. Sangdi had disappeared for 60,000 years and was still alive. Now Lu Ming saw it with his own eyes. In that case, the giant figure was obviously a great emperor as well. Soul Extinguisher Shakyamuni, even if I die, I will drag you down with me. A voice came out of the goshawk's mouth. Ha ha ha. You want to drag me down with you? Dream on. So many people have entered this secret realm, and they're all competing and killing each other. How many vengeful spirits, baleful chi, and soul chi have been produced? I've already recovered a little after absorbing all that soul chi. Even if it's just a little, it's enough to suppress you. In addition, there are some young geniuses who are about to reach here. As long as I devour their flesh and blood, I'll be able to recover a little more. As your sovereign, that will be the day you die. Sangdi, 60,000 years ago. I have already prepared a tomb for you. Even if you resist stubbornly and resist me for 60,000 years, what's the use? The result has already been decided. Even the heavens are on my side. The giant figure laughed. At this moment, countless thoughts appeared in Lu Ming's mind. Through the conversation between Sangdi and the giant figure, Lu Ming's doubts were resolved. According to the outside world, Sangdi suddenly disappeared 60,000 years ago, and there was no news of him since then. Now it seemed that Song Di had encountered a strong enemy and fought with him. In the end, he had resisted for 60,000 years and had yet to appear. As for Song Di's subordinates, Lu Ming had found many skeletons. Most of them were killed by a strong enemy. This enemy was also a great emperor. He was incomparably strong and fought a shocking battle with Song Di. In the end, both sides were injured. But what shocked Lu Ming was that Song Di and the giant figure were both injured, but they were still fighting. This fight had lasted for 60,000 years. The ability of a great emperor was really unbelievable. But now, the intrusion of Lu Ming and the others seemed to have broken the deadlock. Previously, Lu Ming suddenly raised his eyebrows. Previously, in the stone room where he had obtained the black feather wings, there had been an eagle that had appeared and stopped him from advancing. That eagle should have been formed by the Azure Emperor. The black silhouette that was fighting with the Firmament Emperor should be the giant silhouette in front of him, the Soul Extinguisher King. Song Di didn't want Lu Ming and the others to continue, but the soul-destroying Shakyamuni wanted Lu Ming and the others to continue, because he wanted to refine Lu Ming's flesh and blood. Many thoughts flashed through Lu Ming's mind. At this time, the huge shadow looked at Lu Ming and said in a loud voice, "Why are you alone? All right, I'll refine you first and wait for the others." Finished speaking, an incomparably huge hand grabbed towards Lu Ming. "Run!" Lu Ming turned around and ran without hesitation. However, that huge hand covered the sky and the sun. It was too huge. Moreover, the aura that it exuded was extremely terrifying. In an instant, Lu Ming felt as though his body was about to explode. The chaotic domain covered his body and vibrated nonstop. Dragon roars could be heard from Lu Ming's body, and there seemed to be 9 dragons emerging from his body. Chaotic domain, it's actually the chaotic domain. The Soul Extinguisher King's voice was filled with shock. Chaotic domain, such a genius should be killed. The Soul Extinguisher King's voice was filled with killing intent. Don't even think about it. With a long roar, a huge wing swept out, as if it was going to split the starry sky. It struck the huge hand and shattered it. "Song Di, you're courting death." The Soul Extinguisher King's body shone brightly and charged towards the Song Di like a deity. The Song Di let out a long roar and engaged in a fierce battle with the Soul Extinguisher King. The scene of the two fighting in the starry sky was too horrifying. The stars were destroyed and the starry sky was shattered. Both Song Di and the Soul Extinguisher King were still far away from Lu Ming. However, the aura of the battle made it hard for Lu Ming to breathe. It was extremely stifling. "Great Emperor, this is a great emperor. He's too strong. An emperor is like an ant in front of him. No, even a sage is an ant." Lu Ming muttered to himself and retreated rapidly. There was no door in the starry sky, and there was no way out. He couldn't see the passageway that he came from. Lu Ming could only retreat and try his best to stay away from the 2 great emperors. "Little brat, since you're here, your fate is sealed. You'll become my nourishment." The Soul Extinguisher King's voice was heard, and a black ray of light shot across the starry sky towards Lu Ming. At this moment, Lu Ming seemed to be frozen and couldn't move at all. Chirp chirp. At this moment the bubbles appeared. It chirped and waved its claws rapidly. There was a cracking sound in the space around Lu Ming. Lu Ming felt his body relax, and he could move again. The black wings flapped. At the same time, the energy of the wind-calming bead in his glabella gushed into Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming retreated frantically. Even if he was facing a great emperor, Lu Ming wouldn't wait for death. Even if the chances of survival were slim, he would fight for it. One of the top 10, the Spacetime Spirit Rat, is still alive. All the more you should be killed. The Soul Extinguisher King's killing intent was extremely strong. Don't even think about it. Emperor Tsong roared and spat out a ray of light that blocked the ray of light that the Soul Extinguisher King shot at Lu Ming. "Emperor Tsong, you can't stop me. Even if I don't kill you today, I'll kill the kid who comprehended the chaotic domain and the Spacetime Spirit Rat." The Soul Extinguisher King's voice was filled with endless killing intent. At this moment, at least a dozen rays of black light shot towards Lu Ming. So many? Lu Ming's pupil shrank rapidly. Although Emperor Song and the Soul Extinguisher King were severely injured and had been fighting each other for 60,000 years, they were still terrifying existences to Lu Ming and could easily kill him. Emperor Song roared and flapped his wings. A dozen feathers flew out and blocked the rays of black light like a dozen divine swords. But in the end, the Soul Extinguisher King was stronger. A ray of black light dodged Emperor Song's attack and shot towards Lu Ming. Chirp chirp. Bubbles screamed and spat out a transparent bubble that suddenly appeared in front of him. It shrouded the black light and hoped that it could block it. But when the black light flew past, the transparent bubble shattered. Although Bubbles was a space-time spirit rat and could control space-time, its cultivation was too far away from the opponent, and it was useless. The black light continued to shoot towards Lu Ming. At this moment, Lu Ming felt as if the blood in his body had frozen. He couldn't move his body. Am I going to die here? A thought appeared in Lu Ming's mind. The great emperor was too strong. He was the top expert in the world, and Lu Ming didn't stand a chance against such an expert. Chapter 1446. The black light was about to hit Lu Ming's glabella. Wung. At this moment, Lu Ming's glabella lit up, and the lightning cauldron rushed out. The lightning cauldron expanded to 10,000 feet in size and blocked in front of Lu Ming. Dong! The black light hit the lightning cauldron, and the cauldron shook violently. Lightning flashed in the sky and destroyed the black light. Holy battle weapon! The soul destroyer Shakyamuni roared. Great! A lightning-attributed holy battle weapon is the perfect counter for you. Looks like the heavens are not looking after you. A lightning-attributed holy battle weapon is enough to deal with you. Emperor Song exclaimed in surprise. At the same time, Emperor Song's voice rang in Lu Ming's mind. Kid, lend me your holy battle weapon. All right. Lu Ming did not hesitate. With a thought, the lightning cauldron flew forward. The Azure Emperor flapped his wings, causing the lightning cauldron to rapidly fly towards him. Not only that, the lightning cauldron rapidly expanded until it was about the same size as the Azure Emperor. Boundless lightning crackled around it, exuding an incomparably terrifying aura. Is this the true power of the lightning cauldron? Lu Ming's eyes widened. He now knew that the lightning cauldron was a holy battle weapon. In the past, Lu Ming could only unleash a tiny bit of its power. With Lu Ming's cultivation, he could not unleash much of the lightning cauldron's power. But now that the lightning cauldron was in Emperor Song's hands, it was completely different. The huge lightning cauldron pressed down on the soul destroyer Shakyamuni. Countless lightning bolts as thick as mountains bombarded the soul destroyer Shakyamuni. The soul destroyer Shakyamuni roared. The black light on his body twisted, and there was even a sizzling sound as black smoke rose. His cultivation technique was perfectly countered by lightning. However, with his cultivation, if he was at his peak, the lightning cauldron would not be a threat to him. But now he was extremely weak. The lightning cauldron was a huge threat to him. Moreover, it was under Emperor Song's control. Boom! Boom! The lightning cauldron pressed down slowly. Infinite lightning cauldrons drowned the soul extinguisher Shakyamuni completely. Songdi, you can't kill me. You can't kill me with just a supreme saint weapon. The soul destroyer Shakyamuni roared. I just need to suppress you temporarily. Songdi's voice rang out. Then, a voice echoed in Lu Ming's ears. Kid, I can't return this lightning cauldron to you for the time being. However, as compensation, I'll give you my storage ring. Whoosh! A ray of light flashed, shattering the void, and appearing in front of Lu Ming in an instant. This was a storage ring, the Azure Emperor's storage ring. Lu Ming's heart began to race. He grabbed the storage ring. Kid, I'm going to bring the soul-destroying Discipline Emperor away from here. I'll use the force of the rift to suppress him. You guys should leave at once. The Tsung Emperor's voice rang out again. After that, Lu Ming felt a powerful force tugging at him, and Lu Ming disappeared from this space. The next moment, Lu Ming appeared in the void. I'm out. Lu Ming looked ahead and saw a huge eagle. That was the Azure Emperor's chamber. He had exited from it. At this moment, the space around Lu Ming rippled and several figures appeared in the air. Those who entered the Azure Emperor's chamber were all teleported out, including Shirtian, Wang Xiao and the others. Damn it, what's going on? Wang Xiao roared. They were blocked by Dandan's tortoiseshell shield. They attacked with all their might and were about to shatter it. But at this moment, they were inexplicably teleported out. It was the same for the others. Some of them were about to obtain a treasure, but were suddenly teleported out. They were extremely angry and unwilling. Jie. At this moment, the Azure Emperor's chamber let out a long cry. Then, under everyone's shocked gaze, it flapped its wings and flew into the depths of the sky. Rumble! In the depths of the sky, the space cracked open, and the Azure Emperor's chamber flew into it and disappeared. What's going on? Why did the Azure Emperor's chamber suddenly fly away? No, it's my treasure. The scene was noisy. Some people roared and some were shocked. Lu Ming, is it because of you? Suddenly a voice resounded, making many people quiet down. They couldn't help but look at Lu Ming. Wang Xiao. Lu Ming looked at Wang Xiao coldly. The person who roared just now was Wang Xiao. Lu Ming, you used despicable means to stop us. You were the only one who entered the core of the Azure Emperor's chamber. Not long after you entered, we were teleported out, and the Azure Emperor's chamber flew away automatically. It must be because of you. Wang Xiao said coldly. What? Only Lu Ming entered the core of the Azure Emperor's chamber? He actually entered the core of the Azure Emperor's chamber? Many people looked at Lu Ming. They were surprised and deep in thought. That's right, Lu Ming. Did you obtain the Azure Emperor's inheritance, and that's why the Azure Emperor's chamber flew away? Shirtian stepped out and said coldly. His body was emitting a sacred light. Most of the people's eyes lit up when they heard this. They stared at Lu Ming with fervent gazes. The Azure Emperor's inheritance. When they thought of these 4 words, everyone's hearts burned with passion. I didn't obtain the Azure Emperor's inheritance. Lu Ming explained. Haha, who would believe that? Lu Ming, you must have obtained the Azure Emperor's inheritance. Now hand it over. It's impossible for you to take it for yourself. Wang Xiao said. That's right. The Azure Emperor's inheritance is not something you can take for yourself. Shirtian said. Yes, hand over the inheritance. Otherwise, today will be the day you die. It's best to search his storage ring and his soul. Everything will be clear so that he doesn't hide anything. Yes, the rest of the people shouted as well, staring coldly at Lu Ming. They slowly formed a circle, surrounding Lu Ming in the middle. What are you doing? Do you think there's no one in the Dragon God Valley? Senior and junior brothers, help Lu Ming. Qiu Yingying shouted from the crowd. Yes, senior brothers, let's help Lu Ming break out of the encirclement. Wan Tian chimed in. Hee, what a joke. This is Lu Ming's personal feud with the other sections. Disciples of the Divine Dragon Valley, listen up. No one can help Lu Ming. Otherwise, if you offend the other sects because of your personal feud, and cause the Divine Dragon Valley to become enemies with the other sects, you will bear the consequences. Yin Feng shouted. His voice could be heard from afar. When he found out that Lu Ming had entered the Azure Emperor's core, he was extremely jealous and wished that Lu Ming would die. That's right. Disciples of the Divine Dragon Valley, don't move. He said, and his powerful aura locked onto Qiu Yingying, Qiu Hao, Ruan Tian and the others. You're despicable. The elders have already said that we should work together. Qiu Yingying shouted. Shut up. Chapter 1447. Yingying, you don't have to say anything. These clowns can't do anything to me. Lu Ming's voice could be heard. Arrogant brat. Hand over Emperor Tsong's inheritance, or you'll die a horrible death. Hurry up. The surrounding youths stared greedily at Lu Ming. I've already said that I didn't get Emperor Tsong's inheritance. Also, let me remind you, if you want to attack me, you'd better be prepared to be killed. Lu Ming said with a cold, murderous intent in his eyes. Ridiculous. We have so many people. Let's see who you can kill. Wang Xiao sneered and stepped out. A battle sword floated above his head, emitting a terrifying aura. It was a sacred weapon. On the other side, Shirtian stepped out with a sacred weapon above his head. Mo Jie did the same, and appeared in another direction. In addition to the 3 of them, there were 3 other people who were leaders. They took out their sacred weapons, and surrounded Lu Ming. 3 breaths, Lu Ming, I'll give you 3 breaths. If you don't hand over the emperor's inheritance, you'll stay here forever. Wang Xiao said coldly. 1. Then Shi Tian started counting. The other youths looked coldly at Lu Ming, their murderous intent filling the air. They were ready to attack at any time. 2. Shi Tian said again. Swoosh. At this moment, a pair of black wings appeared behind Lu Ming's back. With a flap, Lu Ming's figure soared into the sky. He's trying to escape. Don't even think about it. Wang Xiao, Shi Tian, and the other leaders reacted the fastest and chased after Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming suddenly stopped in midair. Then, he changed his direction, passing by Shi Tian and the other 5 and dashing downward. Who said I'm trying to escape? Since you want to kill me, then I'll kill you. Lu Ming shouted and rushed into the crowd below. The black wings were like 2 heavenly blades that slashed across. Immediately, more than a dozen youths were cut in half. More than a dozen youths were killed in one move. Attack together and kill him. Someone shouted. Suddenly countless attacks were launched at Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming's primal chaos domain spread out. The black feather wings enveloped the primal chaos domain, and its power was even more terrifying. With a sweep, some of the attacks were destroyed. Whoosh! Lu Ming rushed into the crowd as if there was no one around. With a sweep of his black feather wings, another dozen people were killed. Whoosh! 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 Then, the black feathers on the black wings flew out like divine swords, piercing in all directions. Puff puff puff. One by one, the youths had their glabella or dantian pierced through. Ah no! Miserable shrieks rang out. In an instant, over 100 people had died at Lu Ming's hands. The smell of blood filled the air. Lu Ming, you evil demon! You willfully slaughter the innocent. Today I must eliminate you! Roared Shi Tian. His eyes had turned red. Half of the people Lu Ming had killed were disciples of the heavenly divinity sect. Evil demon? Killing the innocent? What a joke! You were the one who attacked first and wanted to kill me. I've already said that if you want to kill me, you should be prepared to be killed. Do you really think that I can't fight back when you want to kill me? Lu Ming's cold voice sounded. He flapped his black feather wings, avoiding Shi Tian and the other leaders as he attacked the others. The other youths, even geniuses with innate spirit bodies, were no match for Lu Ming. One by one, the youths screamed miserably as they were killed by Lu Ming. Their attacks couldn't cause any harm to Lu Ming. The ground was covered with corpses. Soon, hundreds of people had died at the hands of Lu Ming. Outside the crowd, Yin Feng and the others gasped. This guy is getting more and more terrifying. I must find a chance to kill him. Yin Feng thought. Back off, all of you, back off! Shi Tian roared. Those youths frantically fled in all directions, as far as possible from Lu Ming. Shi Tian and the other 5 pursued Lu Ming with all their might. Swoosh! Lu Ming's figure suddenly stopped. Shi Tian and the other 5 once again surrounded Lu Ming. This time, they focused their energy and locked onto Lu Ming, fearing that Lu Ming would escape. Lu Ming, an evil demon like you can't stay in this world. Shi Tian roared. Quickly hand over Emperor Tsang's inheritance, and I'll leave your corpse intact. Wang Xiao said coldly. Haha, do you really think that I'm afraid of you? Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile. Bam! Lu Ming stepped forward and walked towards Wang Xiao. Let's attack together. Wang Xiao's eyes flashed with a trace of fear. He really didn't dare to face Lu Ming alone. Attack! Boom! 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 Shi Tian and the rest activated their sacred weapons. The power of the sacred weapons erupted, and they were about to attack Lu Ming. Chirp chirp! At this moment, the bubbles on Lu Ming's shoulders buzzed. Suddenly, 6 transparent bubbles appeared in the surroundings, enveloping Shi Tian and the other 5 people. Kill! Lu Ming roared and charged towards Wang Xiao. Space-time domain! Wang Xiao roared as his mind trembled. At the same time, he pushed his saint weapon with all his might. Whoosh! A shocking sword chi slashed out violently. The transparent bubble trembled and was split open by the sword chi. The might of a sacred artifact was incomparably strong. The bubble would not be able to trap the 6 of them for long. The others also manipulated their sacred weapons to break the transparent bubble. But this moment was enough for Lu Ming. 9 seals of the divine gate seal. Lu Ming shouted. 5 sealing portals suddenly appeared around Wang Xiao, emitting boundless multicolored light as they sealed Wang Xiao. As Lu Ming broke through to the martial monarch realm, Lu Ming had also achieved a breakthrough in the 9 seals of the divine gate, allowing him to cultivate 5 sealing portals. The 9 seals of the divine gate was a secret technique used by martial monarchs. It was extremely powerful. The 5 sealing portals sealed Wang Xiao in an instant. Kill! Lu Ming appeared in front of Wang Xiao and punched him. Boom! The power of the punch made Wang Xiao tremble in fear. Buzz! However, right at that moment, a suit of armor appeared on Wang Xiao's body and enveloped him completely. Dong! Lu Ming's punch landed on the armor. The armor vibrated, and Wang Xiao was sent flying dozens of miles away. He crashed into a huge mountain and spat out a mouthful of blood. A sacred artifact armor. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. This sacred artifact armor was most likely worn by Wang Xiao before he came in. Lu Ming sighed. These people are really rich. They even have a sacred artifact armor. Whoosh! Lu Ming's figure flashed as he charged toward Wang Xiao. Catch him! Stop him! Shi Tian and the others shouted as they charged toward Lu Ming. However, they were slower than Lu Ming. As soon as they moved, Lu Ming appeared in front of Wang Xiao. Don't think that I can't do anything to you, just because you're hiding in your turtle shell, Lu Ming said coldly as he stomped down. Boom! You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.